Tonight, an unfolding crisis in Russia. Rebel fighters turn against Putin, threatening a military coup. A husband charged with murder accused of running his wife off the road and trying to kill 2 children. Triple the homes needed to solve our housing crisis as Sydney's population keeps soaring. Cheaper childcare for millions of Australians, but some centres are ramping up fees. Along for the ride, a whale joins a Bondi kayaker for a weekend paddle. And the Wild West plan to see the Jets fly again in the NRL.
This is 7 News with Angela Cox.
Good evening. There's an armed rebellion underway in Russia tonight where troops loyal to the Wagner mercenary group have turned on their own. Tanks and troop transports recently in Ukraine are now in southern Russia and have seized military bases. Vladimir Putin has just delivered an emergency address to the nation, calling the mutiny a knife in the back.
Russian tanks advance on home soil. Troops watch, no attempt to stop them. This an internal conflict with potentially global consequences. In the capital, Moscow, military vehicles roll into town. Checkpoints are set up, apparently to protect critical government buildings. Here, extra security heads to Parliament. This is not part of the war in Ukraine, instead infighting between the Russian government and a private military group called Wagner with 25,000 troops. Addressing the nation, Russian President Vladimir Putin calls it treason.
Any internal rebellion is a deadly threat to our state, to us as a nation.
I think it represents the most serious crisis that Putin has faced in over 2 decades in power.
Wagner's leader is Yevgeny Prigozhin. For years, one of President Vladimir Putin's favoured oligarchs, but who tonight is attempting to overthrow Russia's defence minister. We are going further, he says. We are going all the way, telling his troops to retaliate for this. Prigozhin accuses the Russian military of attacking his troops here at their forest training camp. Russia denies involvement. The Wagner chief, whose mercenaries have been used in the Ukraine war, hasn't seen eye to eye with Russia's military command for a while now. Russia's domestic intelligence service accuses him of launching an armed rebellion. Russian TV interrupted its evening broadcast to tell citizens the video of the damaged training base is false. Exactly what happened remains unclear for the outside world. The action isn't isolated to Moscow. In the southern city of Rostov-on-Don, reports of gunfire and helicopter gunships patrolling the skies. That's where private Wagner contractors are said to be advancing on Russian troops. The chief of the general staff ran away as he found out we were approaching, claims Yevgeny Prigozhin. Military and police are on the streets there. Wagner's actions around the world have long been criticised.
They threaten stability, they undermine good governance, they rob countries of mineral wealth.
Now the threat is coming from within.
What is clear is that the regime is in big trouble.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
US correspondent Tim Lester joins me now. Tim, leaders around the world are following the developments closely.
Ange, the White House National Security spokesman has already said they are monitoring these developments and they'll be consulting with allies about what's going on. Our own Prime Minister Albanese says Australia too is watching these developments closely. Ordinarily, Russian stability would be a big international concern, doubly so because of Russia's involvement in the Ukraine war. For Ukraine, of course, this might have benefits, the distraction of Russian forces as it mounts that counter-offensive, which had been slow going. And of course, also, the Wagner Group had been the successful Russian forces in the Ukraine war. They're now heading the other way. Could the coup, though, be successful? The view from Russia tonight seems to be that is highly unlikely, especially because Prigozhin has now questioned Putin's war and the motives for it. He needs to lose from Putin's point of view, but who knows where the forces he has unleashed tonight will finish up. Ange?
Indeed. OK, Tim Lester, thank you. A man's facing more than a dozen charges after allegedly kidnapping a woman and then leading police on a dangerous chase in the Hunter Valley. Isabel Mullen is live for us at Maitland Police Station tonight. Izzy, police were first alerted when the woman showed up at hospital.
Good evening, Angela. That's right. She required surgery for serious injuries, police later discovering that she'd allegedly been kidnapped by a man and held against her will for up to 6 weeks. Now, that man was arrested at Metford train station yesterday afternoon. CCTV video shows the moment of his arrest. You can see police swarm in around his car. That man allegedly rams a couple of police cars, injuring officers. He takes off. His car flips and he injures 2 people who were inside. Police tell us that was the second pursuit this month. The earlier pursuit at the beginning of June, that was called off when that man swerved a couple of road spikes and he collided with a tree, and police deemed the chase to be too serious. The man who witnessed yesterday's arrest, a neighbour there, he spoke to us a short time ago.
He jumped in the vehicle and he tried to escape. He reversed into the first patrol van and damaged it. And then he went down to the other end of the Metford station. He's rammed the other 2 police cars and somehow he's rolled on his side when they've apprehended him.
He's been arrested and charged with serious DV offences, including common assault, detaining a person, stalking, intimidating and grievous bodily harm. He's been kept here in Maitland Police Station. He will face court in Newcastle tomorrow. Angela.
Isabel Mullen in Maitland, thank you. A 35-year-old firefighter has faced court accused of running his estranged wife off the road in the central west town of Molong. Troy Armstrong is charged with murdering the young mum and the attempted murders of 2 young girls who were also in the car.
A deadly crash, police say, was no accident. 35-year-old firefighter Troy Armstrong charged with murder, accused of ramming his estranged wife's car off the road in what police say was a deliberate attempt to kill. The horror unfolded in the central western town of Molong earlier this month, prompting a huge emergency response. The impact instantly claiming the life of 36-year-old mum Christy Armstrong and injuring her passengers, 2 young girls aged just 8 and 11.
Absolutely tragic circumstances, and my condolences go out to those children and the wider family.
Troy Armstrong survived and was flown to Royal North Shore Hospital. Detectives visited the 35-year-old's bedside yesterday, charging him with 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder.
Troy Armstrong is still recovering from his injuries and wasn't required to appear in court today. His lawyer made no application for bail and the matter was very quickly adjourned, due back in Orange Local Court on July 11.
So far this year, there have been more than 20 domestic and family violence-related homicides.
We need, an effective police response where people, if they're coming forward and saying that they're unsafe, that we believe them.
Grace Fitzgibbon, 7 News.
Deep sea diving experts are tonight lining up to say they warned OceanGate of potential safety problems years before the catastrophic implosion. International investigators are looking at the uncertified technology used to build the sub as they map the debris site to piece together what went wrong.
Returning to the surface, the robotic vehicle that located what little remained of the Titan mini-sub as the company behind the doomed mission today found itself the focus of an industry deep dive into their spectacular failure.
The best way to preserve the memories and the legacies of these 5 explorers is to conduct an investigation, find out what went wrong.
The vessel's design, a starting point according to experts, and the defiant resistance by OceanGate's late CEO, Stockton Rush, to have the craft independently classified.
I'd like to be remembered as an innovator. I think it was General MacArthur said, "You're remembered for the rules you break."
He felt that it would take too long for his innovations to be approved by outsiders.
Rush, among the 5 killed in the catastrophic implosion, has long defended the sub, its composite carbon fibre and titanium hull, and its unusual shape.
To give it more space inside for the customers and other people, that stretched it out, and that is the crucial thing.
It's also suspected 13 successful past plungers had weakened Titan's outer shell to the point it no longer provided protection under the intense pressure of the North Atlantic Ocean. It's been revealed US Navy sensors actually detected the underwater blast in real time, but without conclusive evidence that the 5 on board had been killed instantaneously, continued for days to treat this as an ongoing search and rescue mission.
Just absolutely devastating. I'm still, heartbroken. I think I'm still a little bit in shock. I just can't believe that, this is happening.
And neither can Jay Bloom. He turned down a cut price ticket on board the deadly trip, raising safety concerns with the company, and he's just thankful he did.
All I could see when I saw that father and son was myself and my son. That could have been us.
In St John's, Canada, David Woywood, 7 News.
It's been predicted the number of new homes built in some Sydney suburbs would need to double or even triple if we're going to solve the housing crisis. New targets are being drawn up as the city's population rapidly expands, but meeting them could be difficult.
The Eastwood Strip, now known officially as Koreatown, one of the first to be boosted by a new state government nightlife fund.
So please come to and enjoy the Korean town. Thank you.
Expecting to be a local and international attraction.
This is one of the real secrets of Sydney. More than 4 million people are expected to be drawn to this area.
As Sydney struggles to find homes for its current population, the outgoing boss of a key planning agency warning the supply of new housing might need to be doubled or even tripled in some areas.
What we don't need is more politics, reports, inquiries. We need more homes.
The government's having a frank discussion with the people of Sydney about what it takes to turn around that housing challenge.
Meaning more and higher density, and some say it needs to be fast-tracked.
It can take 3 times as long to have a council approve a development than it takes to actually build it.
Targets for new housing will soon be put before State Cabinet, and like here in Eastwood, Koreatown, plans based on precincts and what growth they can expect. As the new state Liberal leader fronted his first party council since the election, vowing to make housing and cost of living a priority to win back government.
This is a 4-year project, and that, my friends, is my promise to you.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
From next month, millions of Australians will get access to cheaper childcare. It's part of the Albanese government's $5 billion promise to lower the cost of care. But some centres are already taking advantage of it and starting to jack up fees.
Families of all sizes, some with ethnic backgrounds, others embracing the First Nations culture. All gathering with the Prime Minister today to celebrate cheaper childcare.
It will boost workforce participation, it will boost productivity, and it will benefit our economy.
Starting July 1, the childcare subsidy will be lifted to 90% for households earning less than $80,000, the rate dropping as income increases, all the way up to $500,000.
Good for families, good for children, good for our economy.
But some families received some rather bad news this week. The country's leading provider of early education, with more than 430 centres across Australia, sent this letter. G8 Education will increase fees from July 10 due to an increase in operating costs. Then telling families to check if they're eligible for the higher government subsidies.
This is the 3rd increase from our childcare in 12 months. Really, really disappointing. And their wording being that we won't be out of pocket because we're getting a higher CCS. So it just felt like a huge slap in the face.
Working mother Kate Brooks sends her 2 boys to a G8 centre 3 days a week. Now she wants to change facilities.
There's no reflection on the daycare. The staff are amazing. The facility itself is incredible. So it's so upsetting.
G8 Education has told 7 News, we have not taken this decision lightly.
What we will continue to do is to monitor those issues.
The federal opposition says that as long as inflation stays high, any savings from childcare subsidies will eventually be lost.
Labor promised cheaper childcare? I'll believe it when I see it.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
Former NRL star and convicted rapist Jarryd Hayne has been scammed out of almost $800,000 after falling prey to a con artist behind bars. It's understood Hayne was one of at least 7 inmates who handed over money to fraudster Ishan Sapideen as part of a Bitcoin sting. Sapideen, who was already serving time for running a Ponzi scheme, convinced them he'd made a fortune working with billionaire Mike Cannon-Brookes. He's since been transferred to another jail. It's been more than 40 years since the Newtown Jets have played in the big league, but that could be about to change. They've been approached to join the NRL as the competition's 18th team, but it means moving away from their spiritual home in Sydney's inner west.
They've been a Newtown staple for over a century, but now the Jets could be taking flight.
That's cool. All power to them.
Yeah.
Go Jets.
A foundation club that last made the grand final in 1981. Before their exit from the sport's top tier 2 years later. Now a possible move to Perth could see Newtown return to the big time.
I think it's going to be a great idea. Anything to get the Jets back into the league. I think they tick a lot of boxes for an NRL franchise, no matter how that pans out in the future.
And there is appetite for the game in Perth. The Western Reds lasted 3 seasons in the mid-90s. And recent Origin matches there have sold out.
They won't be the Newtown Jets anymore.
That unique Jets identity on full display this afternoon against the Eels.
If this is the kind of crowd that comes to a Welcome Day match, you can only imagine the support for a new NRL team. And with a $10 million upgrade to Henson Park in the pipeline, it's the perfect place to host one of the sport's greatest ever comebacks.
There's nothing quite like having a beer on the hill on a Saturday or watching old school footy at Henson Park.
The Newtown Jets playing at Henson Park will always be the Newtown Jets playing at Henson Park, and that is non-negotiable and will never ever change.
Meaning the Jets taking flight in the NRL is still very much up in the air. Lucy McLeod, 7 News.
Whale watchers have been packing our shores recently, hoping to catch a glimpse of humpbacks making the trip up the coast. This morning, one lucky kayaker got much more than that. His once-in-a-lifetime experience captured by a drone that just happened to be hovering overhead.
An unlikely friendship between man and whale.
Wowee. He's right next to you.
Side by side, gliding through the water.
I could have touched it. I could have put my paddle on it. Yeah, it was quite amazing.
Some people wait hours and spend hundreds to see these creatures up close. But this inquisitive humpback decided to follow his new kayaking friend all the way from Coogee to Bondi.
Well, I've seen whales out there before, but this whale just followed me and stayed with me the whole time.
A diver also having this incredible close encounter.
It was a beautiful morning, so I was pretty stoked to see what was unfolding.
As soon as I got back here, there were people lined up along this promenade, all with their phones out. It's been the most amazing experience.
So was this friendly whale just curious?
Humpback whales definitely have a curious nature, and this is just such a beautiful interaction.
They don't call this the Humpback Highway for no reason. Thousands of whales have already swum by on their epic journey towards warmer waters, and there's still thousands more to come.
Well, it's been pretty good so far this year because we've had epic conditions.
Yeah, new friend, once in a lifetime.
Amy Clements, 7 News.
Time for the weather details now. Amber, it was a beautiful Saturday across Sydney.
Good evening, Angela. Yes, we saw plenty of blue skies across the city today, as you can see here at Bondi Beach, where it reached 19 degrees just before 3:30 in very light winds. While after clear skies to start, we did start to see some patchy cloud cover develop across parts of the west throughout the day. This is how it all unfolded at Parramatta. Still plenty of sunshine, though, a top of 20 degrees. Daytime temperatures across the Sydney Basin generally hovered around 20 to 21 degrees. Cool to start across the southwest and the mountains, though this would probably feel quite comfortable after those sub-zero minimums earlier this week. The clear skies do look set to persist for the next few days, though it is looking like a blustery start to the working week. We'll have all of the details in your full forecast. That's coming up soon, Angela.
Thank you, Amber. A champion young jockey at the centre of a drug scandal. After the break, the controversial photos and video as she recovers from a bad fall. The killer who smuggled a gun into a cell before firing on police. A family flees their fishing boat moments before it ignites. Incredible talent on display, stars of The Young, Archibald and the special people who inspire them. And Lady in Red, the Princess of Wales, turns heads at Royal Ascot. Thank you for watching 7 News. Champion jockey Jamie Carr's career is tonight in the balance as she fights drug allegations. Photos and videos published online appear to show her dividing white powder into lines. Carr's still recovering from a shocking fall which left her in a coma with broken bones and a bleed on the brain. She says she's disappointed the story was published. Her father has told 7 News reports of drug use are untrue, and Jamie is now speaking with lawyers. A man who smuggled a handgun into a London police station has been found guilty of murdering a New Zealand-born officer. Matt Ratner was just months away from retirement when he was gunned down in a holding cell.
It's 1:30 in the morning. I don't know who you are. You've probably got a totally legitimate excuse, all right?
September 2020. Louis De Zoysa is stopped by 2 officers on a London street.
Right, because I don't know what else you've got on you, and I think there's more to this story than you're letting on.
They find a bag he's carrying containing 7 bullets and cannabis.
I'm placing you under arrest. Okay.
But somehow, despite a lengthy search, the police missed the loaded antique revolver De Zoysa had in a holster under his left arm.
Just hold his jacket up for me.
Inside the van on the way to the station, the 23-year-old, albeit with handcuffs on, retrieved the gun. He's now holding it.
My name's Matt. I'm the custody officer. I'm in charge. I'm not involved in the investigation. You've been arrested on suspicion of possession of bullets.
As Sergeant Matt Ratner asks him to stand for another search, De Zoysa shot the veteran officer in the heart.
You're good enough to...
The 54-year-old, who was also a rugby coach, was just months away from retiring.
The constant feeling of grief and loss continues. My love for Matt, my gentle giant, will never end.
De Zoysa's lawyer argued he'd had an autistic meltdown, but a jury disagreed, finding him guilty of murder. The cop killer will be sentenced next month. In London, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
US presidential candidate Chris Christie has been heckled as he addressed a group of evangelical Christians in Washington. Christie, whose campaign so far has been centred around criticising Donald Trump, ran into trouble when he accused the former president of not owning his mistakes.
And that is not leadership, everybody. That is a failure of leadership. And you can boo all you want.
Christie was among several Republican candidates speaking at the Faith and Freedom Coalition. A family escaped just in time, and it's lucky these first responders weren't hurt.
Smells bad.
Oh.
4 people had already suffered minor injuries when the engine caught fire at sea before the vessel really ignited. Just after making it to shore, firefighters arrived by boat to extinguish the blaze. The Princess of Wales has made a stunning entrance at Royal Ascot. Kate and William arrived in a horse-drawn carriage alongside cousin Beatrice, with Kate turning heads in a red Alexander McQueen outfit and matching headpiece. King Charles and Queen Camilla were also there for a 4th straight day of racing. First home buyer incentives set to end within days. Still to come, the final rush to avoid stamp duty. Why next weekend will be very different. Boxing legend turned politician Rocky Gadolari loses his final fight. A humble war hero honoured a decade after sacrificing everything for his country. Money for nothing. The cash-back schemes helping shoppers get ahead.
And ahead in sport, a record first half score. Watch out, here come Para.
Sydney siders looking to break into the market have rushed to take advantage of incentives for first home buyers before they run out. This time next week, ditching stamp duty will no longer be an option.
In Tempe this morning, 28-year-old Lara Hirsch tries to buy her first home.
It is against you, to be clear.
It's the last weekend before the first home buyer choice incentive changes, taking the option of paying stamp duty or a property tax away.
A lot of people are trying to take advantage of those incentives while they still exist.
But at almost $1.5 million.
And it's sold. Congratulations, well bought.
Today, her dream home was just out of reach. Stamp duty now an unwelcome reality from July 1.
When house prices are so high, in general, to have an extra 50 grand on top of it it's really stretching a lot of people thin.
If I had enough money, definitely the stamp duty option.
With prices this high, many first home buyers can't afford to get into the market regardless of whether they have to pay stamp duty or not. There are a few suburbs where prices have dropped, but unsurprisingly, most of them aren't in Sydney. In Cobar and South Lismore, prices are 4% cheaper than 2013, a saving of close to $9,000. A unit in North Ryde costs just 2% more, while a unit in Karora is almost 50% cheaper, buyers paying $75,000 less than 10 years ago.
The kind of areas where we're seeing property prices hold steady are those where we've had an oversupply of homes.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
A family's been left homeless after fire engulfed their property in Sydney's eastern suburbs this morning. Crews arrived to find flames tearing through the Matraville house shortly after 9:30 and worked quickly to prevent them spreading.
It took 3 crews and 3 lines of hose to bring it under control. The fire was quite intense due to some heavy winds in the area.
The family wasn't home at the time and it's unclear what caused the blaze. The Army has commemorated the 10th anniversary of the death of one of its heroes with a special honour. They're determined the sacrifice of Victorian Cameron Baird is never forgotten.
The Pipes played his favourite AC/DC as Corporal Cameron Baird's parents unveiled a training centre in his name to inspire others.
Reinforces what excellence is about, what integrity is about, and in terms of warfighting, what sacrifice is about.
We're just everyday people. We come to work, we do our work, and then we go home to our families.
Always humble, but in June 2013, Corporal Baird sacrificed himself in Afghanistan to save his mates, killed after charging an enemy compound 3 times to silence a machine gun.
Courage, conspicuous courage.
He received Australia's 100th Victoria Cross, bittersweet for his family.
We would wish this on nobody else.
Even a decade on, his family too emotional to talk. A champion schoolboy footballer, Cameron trained with Geelong. His old regiment played an officers versus troops match for the Cam Baird Cup.
There's a new generation of soldier coming through. They too have a really good sense of Cameron, his character, his qualities.
With Australia's Special Forces now shrouded in controversy, the Army determined to highlight Cam Baird's selflessness.
When we reflect on actions like Cameron's, he definitely has a legacy that's playing through and will certainly serve us well into the future.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Boxing legend Rocky Gatellari has died at the age of 81. The Italian-born fighter represented Australia at the 1960 Olympic Games. Then a year later, he won the Aussie flyweight title, remaining undefeated in his first 16 professional bouts. Later in life, he owned restaurants and at one stage was a Liberal candidate for New South Wales. Gatellari had been battling dementia. It's the exhibition of family portraits unlike any other. Just ahead, the next generation of Archibald stars and the loved ones who inspire them. The Harbour Bridge blocked for a global event. How it will impact your travel tomorrow.
And soon in sport, the huge mid-season move. The Dragons captain could be a Bronco next week.
Harbour Bridge will be closed to traffic tomorrow morning for a special ticketed event ahead of the FIFA Women's World Cup. It'll be closed from 4 a.m. to 10:30, with traffic diverted onto other routes. Trains will still run, but buses will terminate at either side of the bridge. The World Cup kicks off on the 20th of July. They are incredible artists with bright futures competing for a prize some say is better than the main event. Today, the winners of this year's Young Archie competition paid tribute to the special people who inspired their stunning works of art.
Alex Lopata is a Holocaust survivor, cancer survivor, and now muse for his 10-year-old grandson.
He taught me how to be a nice person and how to be kind.
Such a wonderful gift.
Toby Lopata is one of 4 Young Archie winners, a competition inspired by the famous Archibald Prize for those aged between 5 and 18, tasked with painting someone important in their lives. 17-year-old Lily Hobbs captured her Auntie Erica.
I think the candle really represents that warmth that she sort of gives off.
At 15, Jasmine Guy drew inspiration from her close friend.
I sat down every day after school trying to work on it.
While 8-year-old Phoebe Raft painted a self-portrait.
It's me on the first day of school.
In fact, we all have the potential to channel our younger selves and reignite that creative spark. In the words of Picasso, every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain one once we grow up. The portraits will be on display at the Art Gallery of New South Wales until September. Amy Clements, 7 News.
It sounds too good to be true. Getting paid to shop? Coming up, the cashback schemes that let you turn a profit with a few simple clicks. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News. First, Matt's here with Sport. And Matt, all sorts of big stories in the NRL today.
Plenty happening, Ange. Good evening. Some shock news on Latrell Mitchell. Heavyweight support for Brad Fittler. Also, the Eels' stunning first half against the Dolphins, over to the Panthers against the Knights. And Australian cricket's next big thing with a record-breaking ton in the Ashes. Para are back, and how. With 5 in a row, the Eels are surging as premiership contenders. With the club record first half blitz against the Dolphins, the Eels blew them off the park by 28 points today.
Hammer time early. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow shut down with the ankle tap of the season by Micah Sevo. Present-day stars outshone by a surname that's a blast from the past.
First game in the NRL!
Rookie Braden McGrady, nephew of 1991 Rothmans medalist Ewan McGrady. Sevo's raised elbow placed on report, but bizarrely not penalised. From there, the Eels blew the Dolphins out of the water. Ewan Aiken reduced a roadkill by Will Penasini, the centre barging his way to his first double for Para before laying one on for his captain.
Penasini, Parramatta, raging hot, Guffers underscore.
Mitch Moses clocking 1,000 career points for Para, 42 points at the break, the highest first half total by the Eels in their 77-year history. Not so electric in the second half. Gutherson hanging tough to grab Para's only 4-pointer, but the damage done. Hammer scoring a double, Parramatta 48, Dolphins 20, stretching the Eels' winning streak to 5.
We've been chasing 3 wins in 13 days, and that was what our priority was. We've won 5 in a row. We haven't done that at the club in my time.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
5 beaten Blues resting. Nathan Cleary out. The Panthers still have Dylan Edwards.
Edwards sees some space. He beats Ponga. This tremendous fullback.
6-0 early over the Knights. Newcastle's reply, Kalen Ponga to Dom Young and back to Ponga again for 6-all. You wouldn't know the Panthers have so many out with this try to Tyrone Preachy, impressing coach Cleary and Ivan. Not quite Mark Guy to Roy Simmons from the 91 grand final, but a short dropout gone wrong gave the Panthers a 16-6 lead. Ben Hunt could be a Bronco by Monday following a sad end at the Dragons. Jack de Bellin's 200th game backfired as rugby league's flying mullet Dallin Watene-Zelezniak scored 4 of 9 Warriors tries in a 48-18 hiding, all signs indicating Hunt's early release.
Oh,
I'm keen to get it sorted out. Have a meeting with the club this week and we'll get to the end of it.
Ben, is there a chance this is your last game for the Dragons?
Oh, I honestly don't know, mate.
Hunt's tipped to rejoin Brisbane for the rest of this season before shifting to Des Hasler's Titans from 2024. Warriors hitman Marata Niokore is facing a 3 to 4 game ban. Forget about Latrell Mitchell playing Origin 3. He's out till round 21. That's another month on top of the 4 weeks he's already missed with a calf strain that is just not healing.
He won't be available for game 3. We're not in a position to rush it at all. We need to make sure we get Latrell fit and firing for after that bye week.
What did the Souths coach think of the use of Damien Cook at centre instead of Cam Murray in Origin 3?
Who I think has played in the centres for Penrith.
Yeah. I don't know how much to say or not to say.
Trent Robinson says calls to axe James Tedesco or Brad Fittler are crazy.
Yeah, I don't need to discuss that. It's game 2. They're in the middle of an Origin. Freddie's a great coach and he should continue to be.
The Swans are desperate and taking advantage against the last place West Coast Eagles at the SCG tonight.
Comes to ground, hurried snap out of the pack immediately for the Swans, and they get the opener within the first minute of the game.
Sydney piled on the goals early, storming to a 52-point lead by quarter time. They haven't eased up. The Swans kicked 15 straight goals to lead by 137 points at three-quarter time. Long considered Australian cricket's next big star, Annabelle Sutherland, showed why on day 2 of the Women's Ashes Test. The 21-year-old hammered her first Test ton, batting at number 8, but England have returned fire at Trent Bridge.
A quick trip to Nottingham for Mitch Starc to watch wife Elisa Healy, the Aussie captain keeping her own eyes on the future, with young fans and her own team.
Oh, that's beautiful. And what a way to bring up a maiden Test century.
It's something you dream of growing up, and just to pull on the baggy green.
Annabelle Sutherland, long touted Elise Perry's heir apparent, making her own name.
It's pretty nice to have her, I guess, in my corner.
The fastest Test ton by an Aussie woman, off 148 balls.
That is a wonderful strike.
Sutherland unbeaten on 137, Australia all out for 473. But it didn't end there.
Edged and taken this time. Annabelle Sutherland can do no wrong.
Tammy Beaumont counter-punching for the hosts, her unbeaten 100, leaving them at 2 for 218 at stumps. After a couple days sightseeing, the Aussie men will train behind closed doors tonight for Wednesday's second test at Lord's. England have called up 18-year-old leggy Rian Ahmed, who took 7 on debut against Pakistan last year. James Manton, 7 News.
American golf's becoming more and more besotted with Australian brother and sister act Min Woo and Minjee Lee. Minjee's 3 under, 2 shots off the lead halfway through the LPGA Championship, eyeing her 3rd major title. Her little brother was supposed to be there, but Min Woo's US Open top 5 earned a start at the $30 million Travellers Championship.
That's a good problem to have, right?
Is he one of those people to text you as soon as you're done? Is he one of the first texts that pops up on your phone?
I already checked it, but he wasn't.
Min Woo is 9 under, 6 behind leader Denny McCarthy, with Lucas Herbert and Adam Scott in the top 10. The World Surf League's in Brazil for the Rio Pro, where the locals make it very clear it's go aerial or go home. John Florence's 9 was the wave of the opening round. Big names falling to the elimination round include tour leader Griffin Colapinto.
You see the projection down the line, great amount of speed, just catches the rail.
Not the conditions for Steph Gilmore's classic style. Elimination risks her spot in the top 5 tour finals. Still love the way Steph surfs more than that aerial stuff though, Ange.
Yeah, no,
too cool.
Love Steph.
Yeah.
Shame for her. Thanks, Maddie. A cashback revolution is helping hard-pressed shoppers beat the rising cost of living. Websites that pay you to shop can put money back in your account, even for everyday items.
Cashed up and ready to spend, Jordan Turner's bank account is bursting with refunds she's earned just by shopping online.
It's essentially money for nothing, is the way I see it.
From dog food to kitchen appliances and liquor, the 31-year-old shops using cashback sites to make money on her purchases.
It's about $1,000 just through general online shopping.
Platforms like Shopback, Kickback and Cash Rewards are among a growing number of sites enticing shoppers with money rather than rewards points.
Cash Rewards shoppers can receive up to 20% cash back on top of already great deals happening at some of Australia's largest brands.
The money earned can be funnelled into consumers' bank accounts and some sites even pay into super funds.
Cashback works with some of the biggest brands who pay us a commission, and we pay most of that back to consumers.
I think they're getting increasingly popular. The cost of living crisis is pushing a lot of people to the limit.
Reward site Shopback is reporting a 60% increase in monthly sign-ups, with fashion, popular and travel sales up 150% on pre-COVID levels. With end of financial year sales in full swing, shoppers can double dip, getting cash savings back on top of retailer discounts. Daily upsize deals push cash returns even higher.
I've withdrawn back to my bank account about $890, which is pretty good for just doing your general online shopping.
The remainder is waiting to clear, which can take 3 months to allow for refunds and returns.
If you can make a few dollars back in the process, why wouldn't you?
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Amber is back with the forecast now. Amber, how's it looking tomorrow?
Sunny again tomorrow, Angela, though it is looking like a bit of a blustery start to the working week with a few showers to follow. We'll have all the details in your full forecast. That's coming up next.
Monday on 7 News, the new way to slash power bills, digging deep to tap free home heating and cooling that never runs out.
It warms the house up quickly.
How Sydney is switching to the natural energy sitting under their homes. Only on 7 News with Mark Ferguson, Monday.
Tonight, 7 News headlines: an armed rebellion is underway in Russia. Mercenary troops turning on Vladimir Putin, threatening to overthrow the military. A driver has been charged with murder, accused of running his wife off the road and killing her. A man has been arrested after a dramatic chase in the Hunter Valley. He's now facing more than a dozen charges. And an inquisitive humpback whale has joined this Bondi kayaker for a weekend paddle. Now here's Amber with Sydney's weather.
Thank you, Angela. Well, we've got another beautiful day on the way tomorrow under clear skies this evening and in a very light breeze. It is 16 degrees in the city right now, though it does feel closer to 11. If we take a look at the satellite, we've got a front and trough connected to a deep low in the Bight, bringing strong winds and some showers to parts of the West Australian and South Australian coast, also southern and western Victoria. Unsettled conditions are forecast to persist as this system tracks east. Through the first half of next week, we're also expecting a large rain band to develop and stretch across the country from northern WA to New South Wales. So there are multiple flood watches in place for every state except Queensland, New South Wales and the ACT. But that approaching system is set to bring more showers and gusty northwesterly winds to Adelaide tomorrow. A wet and windy day is also expected in Melbourne, while in Hobart, partly cloudy, 14 degrees there, 11 and mostly sunny tomorrow in Canberra. Brisbane expecting clear skies, a top of 27 degrees. With similar conditions expected across New South Wales tomorrow, plenty of sunshine on the way, just the chance of a few showers down near the Snowies. A strong and gusty northwesterly airstream is set to develop across the Great Dividing Range late tomorrow evening and into Monday though. So a damaging wind warning is in place for the eastern slopes and parts of the Blue Mountains. That's late tomorrow afternoon. With gusty westerlies forecast to reach up to 50 kilometres per hour. Daytime temperatures across the Sydney Basin should reach 19 degrees in most parts tomorrow. 17 is the forecast top at Springwood, 20 degrees just there at the airport. On the water tomorrow, northwesterly winds will run at up to 20 knots early before turning westerly during the afternoon and increasing to 25 knots during the early evening. Further north, a strong wind warning is in place for the waters off the Hunter. But back in the city, we've got more sunshine on the way for Sydney. Tops of 19 degrees in the city and across the western suburbs. Now, you can see the fine weather persists on Monday, but that's when we'll see those westerlies reaching Sydney. Throughout the rest of the week, Wednesday, we could potentially see a few light showers, but otherwise we're expecting generally fine conditions right throughout the week. So overall, looking pretty good over the next 7 days, Angela, and looking much more comfortable than those freezing temperatures from earlier this week.
Yeah, pretty good for winter. Okay, thanks so much, Amber. That is 7 News for this Saturday. We will have updates for you throughout the evening. Weekend Sunrise starts at 7. I'm Angela Cox from all of us here. Thanks so much for your company and have a great night. Oh, I like that.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news.